Okay, this is episode 21 of Ruminate. I'm Rob Lewis, and with me as always is John Voorhees. Good morning, John.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I'm good. We're just discussing, we've both got a 3-day weekend, which is nice.
Yeah, it's always great. I mean, I get a lot of stuff done on these 3-day weekends. I have a little opportunity to drive around in my car, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, this is an episode of us buying all the things.
Yeah, we did. We spent a little too much money recently. I think both of us, especially me. But anyway, why don't we just dive right in? Because I know you had some follow-up about the Raspberry Pi, because basically the minute we released this, the last episode, there was some news about the Raspberry Pi Zero, right?
Yeah, so what I uploaded, I generally upload the episode kind of Monday at about 9 o'clock, maybe 8:30 in the morning. And maybe 20 minutes after I'd uploaded it, scheduled, for the release later, the Pi Zero was back in stock because they've added a connector for there's a camera connection kit that you can kind of get for adding a camera and doing, all sorts of webcams and security, that kind of thing. So yeah, those are kind of back in stock and available to buy.
Okay. How does the camera part work? Is it USB or what? I assume it is, right?
No, it's a special. I don't know enough about it to explain it, but I don't think it goes to the USB. I think it goes on one of these
straight into like the graphics board or something.
One of these, one of the pin sections that are on it. God, we sound like we don't know anything about this.
Yeah, but, no, I don't know. I have not paid much attention to the Pi Zero. I probably should.
No, but this is the camera kit. I believe it can go to the Raspberry Pi 3 as well.
Yeah,
so you can create all sorts of things. I've seen people kind of do. Like time-lapse photographs. They've kind of built a little enclosure and stuck it on their roof to do time-lapse, that kind of thing. So yeah, literally a few minutes after I'd pressed the button to schedule the episode, what we'd said was out of date. So
yeah, it gives me some ideas. Maybe I'll make some things and automate some things. It might be okay.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I think that was it for follow-up. It was just that one thing. That seems to happen to us more often than not. We say something and then it's out of date before the episodes come out.
Yeah, and it's not our fault. We're not wrong. It's just that things happen.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that was it for follow-up. The first of many things we're going to talk about today of buying things. I've got an emoji domain now.
Yeah, I saw that. I could barely resist. I had to just close that tab immediately after I saw you and Mike Hurley buying emoji domains. I thought, I cannot jump down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, so I originally just wanted the thinking face, because of course he is, he's the Lord and Savior of emojis. It is the best emoji.
Well, he is your emoji. I think you've basically made him yours, and no one else is allowed to use that without paying you a fee.
Exactly. But unfortunately that wasn't available on its own. So I got the little collision. I think it's called Boom if you search for it in Slack, but the official name is the collision symbol. So it's collision symbol, thinking face, collision symbol, .ws.
Yes, it's a little bit like the thinking face with fireworks coming out of his ears.
Exactly. So it's kind of interesting how these work. You're not actually so emojis kind of get encoded to a string.
Right.
So
with
it's not
with the the UTC symbols, right? I mean the UTC encoding, right?
Yeah, it's kind of strange because it's not. So I've got 3 emoji symbols there, but it's not 3 separate encoding strings. There's kind of an encoding for all 3 of them as one string.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so the actual domain is xn -- and then a load of letters and numbers. But places like Tweetbot will, render emoji.ws. They will render those properly as links. And I kind of tongue-in-cheek reported this as a bug to Slack because they don't render them as links.
Yeah, I doubt many people do. Or who is determining what the string is for a combination of emoji? Is that something that is somehow hooked into the I said UTC encoding before. We got to take that out.
No, it's fine, John. I know what you meant.
I know. I'm thinking. Oh, I meant Unicode.
I think it is a standard that they kind of get encoded to, because there's a few different generators online where you give it an emoji and it'll give you the string, which is how I worked out what string I needed.
I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize that the strings are different though when you combine the different emoji. I wonder why that is, as opposed to just being like some sort of way of concatenating existing strings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's also weird that even though it is specifically just a string, I think they all start with XN dash dash, so they're only supported by certain TLDs. They're only supported by WS, and I think there's one other that they're supported by, which is kind of a shame because if other TLDs were supported, I could just have the thinking face on its own. But and right now it just redirects to my site because I just bought it and I got excited. I just didn't want to miss out.
Well, I had to look it up because I wasn't able to figure out on my own what the WSTLD is. It's for Samoa.
Well, there you go.
The government of Samoa, Western Samoa to be exact. That's where the W comes from.
Well, they're on point with their emoji standards and games, I guess.
According to Wikipedia, it is just Samoa now, but back in the day, in the 70s, it was Western Samoa, so that's where the W comes from. Because everybody's got to have a 2-letter country code. I know a lot about those from making blink links.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of country codes as a result, but I didn't know WS. It doesn't come up very often. I don't think that it's. I'm not sure that Samoa is in the in iTunes affiliate program. Little known fact.
Well, there you go. We're always learning. So you didn't buy an emoji domain, right? You managed to stop yourself?
You know what? I couldn't find one that just captured me, so I didn't.
Fair enough. I think Mike bought 2 or 3. He's got microphone.ws. He's got robot and geekface.ws for Cortex. Frank bought one as well. So
yeah, I forget, what did Frank buy? I can't remember. Do you remember?
Frank bought the gun and then a face.
Oh yeah,
and then the thing, which is kind of.
It's very Frank. You know what it is? It's very Scott Pilgrim is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a reference to the I'm not quite remember. I guess it's the scene where the girl kind of shoots herself, and we get the boom text come up on the screen. So.
Yes. We'll put the GIF in the show notes. It's not as morbid as it sounds.
No, definitely not. So on to number 2 of what Rob and John bought this week. You bought something slightly more expensive.
Yeah, I got a car, and I didn't mean to buy a car. I mean, it wasn't like an accident, but
you didn't just go out for bread or something.
No, I didn't just like go out for bread and come back with a car. I had an old car that was like 15 years old, and one of my kids was out driving around about an hour and a half away from my house. He turned a corner, and the wheels started coming off the car, basically, because the frame had come apart. It was that old, and it was that messed up, and I was just trying to get it to go. I knew it was in bad shape, and I was just trying to get it through another year, so 2 of my 3 boys would be out of the house in college, but the car decided it was just time to go, and I ended up selling it to the junkyard for $100. So that car was gone, and I need another car, especially right now. We got a lot going on at home, and I have 4 drivers in my house. So we went out and leased a Honda during the week, and there's only really one thing that I wanted from my car, and this is why I bought a Honda and not something else. Was I wanted to try out CarPlay. And my wife wanted heated seats, so we had very particular requirements of this car. It had nothing to do with how the car works. We're not really car people. We don't really. This is like the anti-neutral because I really don't care as long as it gets me somewhere and it doesn't cost too much money. I'm fine.
Yeah, that sounds like a car to me. That's
yeah. Low maintenance, decent gas mileage, that kind of stuff. But so we have CarPlay in our car now, and it's pretty cool. I've enjoyed using it, although I haven't used it that much yet, but I can kind of give you my first impressions.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, there's not too many apps really that support it, right?
No, I mean, I guess the good thing is you don't have to necessarily download a separate app. It's all just existing apps have support built into them. And I did find, I think there's a 9 to 5 Mac article that had a pretty good list that came out less than 6 months ago. Pretty good list of apps that support it. Right out of the box, I had 2 on my phone already. I had Overcast and Spotify. I haven't actually tried Spotify yet, but Overcast worked really well. The car actually has 2 different screens on it. It's got the main screen where you control CarPlay, but then it's got more of like a monitoring screen that's above that can be cycled between things like information about the car and the music and that kind of thing. So I can actually see what's playing in a couple of different places. But it works really well. I've tried Overcast, I've tried music, and I've tried iMessage. And all you really need to do is just plug your phone in with a lightning cable into a USB slot that's right under the radio in the center of the dashboard, and set it there. And there's the added benefit of it's charging while you're doing that. And it uses the cellular connection for your phone to stream anything that you need. So I tried Overcast, listened to a couple podcasts. I used Siri to search for and play some music. And then while I was driving around, somebody sent me an iMessage, and you can have it read back to you, and you can respond. And I sent a test message out to Federico, because I think I want to write about this at some point. And that's about it, I guess. I mean, the thing that struck me most about it so far is that as bad as Siri sometimes seems when you're just trying to use it out and about, it's really nice in the car, because the thing about CarPlay is that the hardware isn't Apple hardware, and I know it's true for Honda, but I've heard it's true for a lot of other car manufacturers, that their screens aren't that great. So the screen, if I want to interact with the screen, it's not capacitive. It's kind of one of those mushy ones where you have to kind of push a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
So scrolling is awful in particular. Play and pause and that kind of thing, or skip, that's all pretty easy because you just have to poke the screen. You don't have to actually swipe. But swipes don't work very well. And in that context, in the car, and especially compared to like other car audio interfaces that I've tried before, like I tried Ford's, we had a Ford, and I've tried that, and that's pretty terrible. But so compared to those things, Siri's really nice. I mean, it has all the warts that Siri kind of has already, but when you are driving and don't want to be poking around at a screen, using Siri works really well. There's just a button on the steering wheel that you press it, and it does the little beep beep from Siri, and you say whatever you're going to say, and then it works. So it worked great.
Yeah, this is nice. I mean, when Jess was looking for a new CD player, a new head unit for a car, she wanted Bluetooth and things like that, and I kind of said to her, why don't we get one with CarPlay, just because I wanted to try it out, pretty much. But the actual head units on their own are like £500-600.
Yeah, they're really expensive if you buy them by themselves, and I think there are only still a couple of them that are made right now.
Yeah, I think I only found two. I think there was one that was 500 and one that was 600. I couldn't really tell the difference between the two. And this kind of goes to something else we're going to talk about in a bit, but I've noticed that in Google I/O, Google announced that Android car thing, I can't remember what it's called, but their equivalent of CarPlay is going to become an app in Android 9. And you can just kind of launch the app and it becomes the CarPlay equivalent. So you can kind of just do it on any Android phone and just kind of mount it. So I think that's kind of an interesting kind of different way of doing it without having to have like a kind of dedicated, either a dedicated car like yours or, one of these third-party head units. But yeah, I mean, I think it's nice to kind of have the same computer in the car as the one that you're carrying around all day.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's good. I mean, I've had plenty of experiences in the past with cars with things like GPS units and things that, you tend to keep your car for a pretty long time. At least I do. And that stuff always got outdated long before anything else. And at least when it's, tied to the tech in your phone, you can replace your phone more frequently and kind of as a result update what's in your car as well. My car does support the Android. I think it's Android Car or Android Auto. I totally forget the name too, but it supports the Android version of this too. But I think for Android, I'd have to download something they told me. And I assume maybe it's the app that you're talking about, or it's, the precursor to that app. Mm. It's kind of interesting the way it works because it's a little like AirPlay. When you plug this in, it takes, a second for it to show up on the screen. But it's more than AirPlay because obviously you can interact with the icons and things. And for instance, when I go to the home screen that shows music and iMessage and all the other apps that have CarPlay integration. There's one for Honda too, which I haven't actually even opened yet. But I don't know, like, where did that come from? I mean, that's coming from the car from the car somehow, right? It's not on my phone. So there's definitely more going on there than just AirPlay when you do it that way. And it's funny because you also, when I poke around through this electronics of this car, and this car's got way more electronics than I'm used to. I've not had this high tech car before, but it has a lot of legacy stuff that Honda used to have their own app system, and it has like standalone Pandora and all kinds of other things that you can, which are really kind of useless now, that you can use Android or Apple on it, but they keep them on there anyway. And it makes the whole interface a little confusing until you plug in a phone, and then once you plug in a phone, it's like, oh, I'll just go to CarPlay, and then that's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting what you say about, cars coming with, sat nav and GPS and apps and things like that, because, some of those as well from various manufacturers are like linked to a subscription service. So, I've been in a few cars, friends and family and stuff like that, where they've clearly got like sat nav or GPS built in, but because they don't pay the subscription anymore, they've basically just got this dead screen,
right.
That mostly doesn't do anything. So, yeah, as you say, I think CarPlay or Android Auto, which I think you did get the name right there. I think it is Android Auto. Stuff like that's definitely a much better way of doing it.
Yeah, we had at one point a car that had GPS, and it was back when it was built into DVDs that were in a little box under one of the front seats. And to upgrade the DVDs was they wanted something like $200 or $300, when I could go out and buy like a Garmin navigation unit for $50 to $100. It's weird the way I think a lot of car manufacturers were using those add-ons as a really high margin profit center for a while.
Yeah, definitely. So anything else on CarPlay? I mean, you've kind of
I gotta figure out this car. It's like everything's electronic. I did get in one of those automatic dongles that you plug into your car. I have had those. And they're kind of cool because they can tell you what's going on with your car, like gas mileage and if you have any error lights come on and that kind of thing. It helps you find your car in a parking lot. They're pretty nice. And there's a I had the original model, and this is a newer updated model. I thought I'd plug that in and get some, go deep on the car data for the summer and see what comes of it.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
So Rob, that's enough about cars. How about we talk a little bit about email? I know you're not an email guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I did do a review this past week. I guess it was a week ago exactly. It came out on a Sunday night, which is a really weird time. I think it was Sunday night because that's just when it got released. The guys behind Bloop, the guys behind Airmail, are based in Italy, and they set their Airmail 3 Mac app to go live at about 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. local time in Italy, which was 11 o'clock for me, which was fine, but strange time for something to go live, but it worked out pretty well. And I've been using that for a while now, along with the iOS version, and I like it. I like it a lot better than what I was using before.
Well, you've managed to pick the one email app that I do know something about, because this is actually what I use on the Mac. I don't use it on iOS, but I do use Airmail on the Mac.
So did you upgrade to version 3?
Yeah, I did. I before I'd read your review, I kind of updated. I'd already updated, and I could see a few kind of UI improvements and little bits here and there. And I could just tell that something was different when I was reading email and stuff. There's some kind of nicer, slicker animations there and things like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I upgraded, and as you say, I'm not a huge kind of email person. I don't get a lot of email anyway. But yeah, it's it's a nice improvements to kind of the little things like UI and animations and stuff like that. Certainly from my point of view.
Yeah, and I've taken a different approach to email with this, because for a while I was doing email mainly on iOS, and I was using Microsoft Outlook, which I still really like. I mean, I think it's an excellent app, because I was using the Focus tab. They basically have a way to, they surface emails from individuals and things that you mark as important. You can kind of teach it, give it rules, and it'll put in the focus tab all of your important email. And so I was doing that, which was great, except that it meant that I never really looked at all my email, and so it built up to the point where I had over 1,000 emails in my inbox.
Wow.
And I blew those all out one weekend. But the nice thing about Airmail, and I think if you dig a little deeper into Airmail 3, you'll see that there's a couple of different things. One is there's a lot more customization in terms of the sidebar UI, different labels and buttons you can use to sort through your email a lot faster, as well as these action extensions. Basically, it's a little more than the share sheet that you find in a lot of Mac apps these days. They actually tie in with things like Trello, To Do, and some of their own actions that you can assign to buttons that I think there are a total of 4 buttons that sit just above the detail of an email. And I set mine up with Trello for one, because one thing that we do a fair amount of, I get a fair amount of Mac Stories reader email, and sometimes it just comes to me, and it's something that should go in the newsletter. So I can, with Trello, I can shoot that email right into Trello, and we can address it from there. And then I have To Do, because that'll take the whole email and drop it into the notes. Whoa, did you hear that?
I did.
Oh, shit.
Come on, John. What have you done?
I opened up Airmail.
John, no.
And I didn't have Do Not Disturb on. So those are my emails coming in. All right. That's good for the show, I guess.
Perfect.
Anyway, so yes, now I have Do Not Disturb on, Rob.
Excellent.
I wanted to make sure I had the buttons right. So I have Fantastic Al and unsubscribe buttons too. And unsubscribe is pretty nice because it'll do its best to bounce the email and unsubscribe you from the list.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and then there's 3 dots next to those buttons, and that gets you access to other actions. So, I like it that way. I mean, it allows me that this sorting is really nice because you can do things like very easily see all the emails from one person, sort them by date, or sort them by account. You can set up VIPs, which I kind of like. That way, I generally don't have a lot of despite the beeps you just heard, I don't have a lot of notifications on, at least on iOS. I pretty much have them turned off except for VIPs, and you can kind of set those up as you go along, for like friends and family and that kind of thing, as opposed to the iBooks Summer Biggest Books email I just got that you heard beep, and the Nuzzle email that I got this morning.
Sure, that sounds good.
Yeah, so those are good. It brought a lot of the iOS features over to the Mac, is effectively what it did.
Cool. So from email, because as you've said, I don't have a lot to say about email because I don't use it too much. But ML3 seems like a nice option if you're looking for an email client, and iOS seems nice as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit about WWDC. Not too much because I think I think a lot of the other I guess real in quotes real tech podcasts will probably overwhelm us over the next week or so. But there was a couple of things I wanted to talk about. There's a really good episode of Connected recently, episode 92, where Federico, he bought a Nexus 5X.
Right.
And, he kind of, the whole episode was him kind of talking through his thoughts and what he thought of kind of Android and, the other side of the coin, because I mean he is 100% iOS now, so it's kind of interesting to hear from his point of view what he thinks of Android. And there's a lot of interesting stuff in there about the home screen and notification center, the equivalent of notification center. Because for the most part, Android and iOS are very similar. They just kind of they implement some of the features slightly differently.
Right.
But the one point that I really want to just briefly mention was the the home screen and home screen widgets and being able to kind of have quick access to that information. And I think, like, people have wanted widgets for quite a while, and they released the Today widgets for the notification center. And it kind of made me realize that actually the home screen itself it hasn't changed since the iPhone released. It's still this just kind of grid. You can't have gaps between apps, which is one thing that kind of bugs me sometimes. And I'm not sure if I have any faith that Apple are ever going to kind of change the home screen. Not ever, to quote John Syracuse, on an infinite timescale. But,
Right.
Certainly in the near future, I don't really see them kind of changing that. And, we've spoken before where I've kind of mentioned maybe looking at Android as an alternative. What do you think? I mean...
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting episode of Connected too, and I've had the benefit of kind of watching Federico testing that out in the Mac Story Slack for a while, and I think I think it's a good experiment, and it's still ongoing, and I think he'll write about it at some point. A couple of things, I guess. One is I agree. I don't think that the home screen is going to change anytime soon, and I think the implementation of things like Today widgets, Spotlight Search, and Control Center all kind of point towards that. Those all add power and a lot of the same similar type things that Android can do, but in a different way, as you said, mainly to preserve the simplicity of the home screen, I think.
Yeah, I do see that, and Apple are well known for kind of, or certainly have been kind of keeping everything like this is our way of doing it, and you kind of deal with it that way. But as you say, it's also like simple and kind of easy to use for all levels of kind of expertise and stuff.
Yeah, because I ask people pretty regularly who are not big iPhone users. I'll show them something like Notification Center. So, did you know that this exists? Or the Spotlight Search, how to search for an app. And most people don't know that stuff exists.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think maybe what I'm really getting at is that I maybe want to switch to Android. I think maybe that's somewhat because the way I use my iPhone has changed quite a lot in kind of the last year or so, because I finished university and full-time working. I just feel like maybe what I want from my phone is something more like Android, where I do have quick access to widgets and stuff like that directly from the home screen, and I actually don't use a lot of apps on a regular basis. So I'm gonna see what WWDC brings, and so I have to wait until September to see what iPhone gets released, and then Google's announcement will probably be a couple of weeks after that, as is tradition. But yeah, it's something I'm definitely considering. I mean, I mentioned before, iMessage is kind of one of those things that I kind of like to keep, but at the same time, I think I could probably just switch to other messaging apps like WhatsApp or Telegram, things like that.
Yeah, I've actually I still use iMessage a lot, but Telegram really is my preferred app now, and a decent number of people, you included, that I know are on it. But there's still a lot who aren't. Yeah, I kind of hear what you're saying in terms of Android. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Android. There's nothing obviously wrong with Android at all. After kind of watching Federico go through this, I've been thinking a little bit about how I need to kind of do something similar. I may not pick up an Android phone soon, but just kind of test out what's going on in other corners of the technology universe so that I have a broader perspective on some of this stuff, which I think he has now, and I think is valuable to have. I will mention one today widget thing that I know, although it's not a widget on the home screen, has really changed and increased my use of Today widgets, which is the launcher widget.
Sure.
Because they just updated not too long ago. And what you can do is you can have multiple launchers in your Today widget screen. So I've actually got, I've got 3 right now, right? I've got one that's dedicated to messaging. So it's got like you're in there for Telegram and some of my family on iMessage, that kind of thing. And then I've got one that's dedicated to Mac Stories, where I have direct links into Trello, the Telegram channel that we do, and different channels within Slack that I use on there. And then I have another one that will show me, it's kind of my commuter one. It's got Overcast, an Apple Music playlist, the Apple Wallet for when I buy my coffee, and my train ticket. And that one, and you can set these up for, make them location and time based. So for instance, the one that's the commuter one only shows up in the morning for a couple of hours when I'm normally going to work, and then it disappears for the rest of the day. And that's really been a game changer for me, because now I can, especially, Slack is kind of they've gotten better and better at the navigation on iOS, but it's really nice to have a button that I can just pull down and have a button and go directly into the channel that I want, because I do spend a fair amount of time bouncing between different channels, at least on the Mac Stories Slack.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to sound like I'm kind of, poo-pooing today widgets, for want of a better phrase. I'm not, I do find some of them useful. I think I maybe have 3 or 4 there. I've got Mondo, which is this new kind of banking app. I have obviously my calendar. I have battery, deliveries is there for when I've got deliveries in the app. I also have a widget for one of these TV show apps. I can't remember which one it is. That'll kind of show me what episodes are coming up.
Right.
So it's not that they're not useful, but I guess to some extent I feel like how I use my phone now, I kind of just want to open it up, and I either want to open like one of maybe 3 or 4 apps, or just see some of this information that's already in the Today widgets. And I think maybe Android will serve my purpose a little, serve my use case a little bit better. And I think what I'm probably going to do, as I say, depending on WWDC and other things in September, I think I might just go for the Android phone, because they're significantly cheaper than iPhones.
Yep.
Try it for a month or 2, and if I don't like it, sell it on, and maybe go back to iPhone if that's what I want to do. I feel like that's maybe the best option if I really want to try it out.
Yeah, I found myself on Amazon looking at the Android phones not too long ago, because Federico got a really good deal. I don't know, he must have really found a good sale, because when I looked at the model he got here in the US, it was more like $370, which was a little more than I wanted to spend. Widgets wise, just to round it out, I've got Clock, which gives me the time in various places, people I deal with, and then Copied, and a little endless runner game called Steve, which is kind of fun. A little dinosaur runs and has to jump over cacti. And then deliveries like you do, and then the batteries app, which tells me how much battery I have on my phone and on my watch. And that's about it for now.
Yeah, I'd actually, now you've mentioned watch, that is another thing that I've got to consider, because I like having a smartwatch of some description. And of course, if I go to Android, I don't know what the best watch is. I'm not really in this world, so I don't know what the best watch is, or if any of them are any good. There's plenty of choice, which is, that's kind of one of Android's biggest features, is the amount of choice you can have and stuff like that. So, but right. The watch is another thing I'd have to consider.
I didn't think about that.
I would swap that out for.
You could just keep your iPhone and keep it in your bag and have it do nothing but serve your watch.
I suppose I've still got my Pebble Steel around somewhere. I suppose I could go back to that for a little bit and go back to that world for a time.
Did you see the new Pebbles that came out this week?
Oh my god, yeah.
They raised a lot of money fast. I'm surprised.
I think the thing is I think they're doing a lot better now, in the last kind of 6 months to a year, because they're not trying to compete with the Apple Watch.
Right.
Per se, I think they're serving a completely different market to what the Apple Watch is serving. Like the Apple Watch, if you've got an iPhone, the Apple Watch is the watch to get, I think. For the most part, like it's deeply integrated with the operator, with the OS and stuff like that. But the Pebble kind of, it's got 7-day battery life. It can work on iPhone, Android. I think it works on Windows Phone as well. It's a little bit more customizable. They're doing really well. I'm not sure how I feel about them being on Kickstarter again. They're a multi-million-dollar company, and they're kind of just doing Kickstarters for all their projects. But I guess if it works for them.
Yeah, right. Kickstarter's not what it once was. That's for sure.
No,
I can't say much about the new Pebble because I only just saw a few pictures of it, which I didn't think it looked all that nice, but I haven't really read much about it other than it's a little more advanced. So
Yeah. So yeah, maybe if I get an Android phone, I'll have to dig out my Pebble again and use that for a little bit until I've made a decision.
yeah, no, that's a good idea. So we haven't gotten yet to your purchases this week. And so what did you go out and do, Rob?
So I think it was last week's episode of Remaster was all about Uncharted 4.
Did you didn't listen to the whole thing, did you?
No, I didn't listen to it at all.
I know. I deleted it. Sorry, Mike.
I still have it, but it's at the bottom of my Overcast list.
Yeah, I'll go back to it too at some point.
So I have a playlist on Overcast of episodes I want to get to when I've watched things. It's generally full of incomparable episodes when they talk about movies and things.
Yeah, that's a good idea because I usually just keep those sitting around in the regular, the regular playlist, and then I wonder, why do I have this old copy of Incomparable?
Yeah, so it's generally, I'll put incomparable episodes in there, defocus sometimes if it's, if they do like Civil War, for example, if that had come out before I'd seen it, I would have put that in there as well and just get to it. But, so yeah, Remaster had a whole episode about Uncharted, which I didn't listen to. I started and then realised what the episode was about and stopped. And then David and Ben on Bit Podcast, they spoke about it a little bit as well. But again, I kind of listened to the first bit and then stopped. You know, and there's a lot of people tweeting and saying, "Oh, Uncharted's great," and I think there was some mention on a couple of other podcasts as well. And so yeah, I kind of caved and just bought a PS4 and Uncharted because I didn't have a PS4 previously. So to play this one game was I needed to buy the whole console as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great game. I have not played. I've hardly scratched the surface because I've been busy. But I've been watching my kids play it a little bit more, and I just love the way this game looks, and it's a lot of fun, just kind of right from the get go.
Yeah, I mean, it immediately, as you say, the graphics are initially I thought I was watching a video. There was a certain section right near the beginning. I think it was the first scene, and I was like, "Wait, is this a video? Are they showing me or is this?" And the graphics are just amazing. And the gameplay. I've played maybe 4 or 5 hours of it yesterday. And if you've played any other Uncharted, it's that, but the graphics are improved because it's obviously a current gen console.
Yep. No, I think we've hit the sweet spot for PS4 right now because the graphics and gameplay on this game are amazing. And we also recently got Ratchet and Clank, and that game too is just really well done, just from the visual standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. So the PS4 I bought. The other reason I kind of jumped on it, I was actually waiting out a little bit to buy a PS4 because I was like, I'm going to see what happens at E3 if this rumored new PS4 comes out, and then I kind of the Uncharted 4 console kind of caught my eye. I'd seen some pictures of it before, but I kind of saw it on Amazon. And obviously this is a limited edition console. It comes in like a nice dark bluey grey, and it's got like a silhouette of Nathan Drake on it, and some nice gold rating and a gold logo on it. So yeah, that was kind of what tipped me over the edge. I tweeted about the console and somebody said to me, "Oh, it's limited edition and it won't be available for long." And I just went, "Oh, fine, I'll order it then." You've convinced me. Everyone's twisted my arm, and so yeah, I mean, and I got it yesterday, and just even the console, it's just kind of nice to not have another black box to go underneath the TV.
Sure,
have something that looks a little bit nicer.
Yeah, no, it's a great. We've been really happy with the PS4. The games are really good, and I think they're really solid right now, and just starting to really hit their stride in terms of making use of the technology that's in the PS4 itself. So I think you'll probably like it, along with all the other games. I'm sure you're already considering buying.
Yeah, well, I actually said to you, I think before we recorded, I've just come back from. I used to work at a second-hand game shop, and I went after playing Uncharted 4. For a few hours yesterday, I went out this morning, took a load of games and Blu-rays that I had lying around that I wanted to trade in, and traded those in to get the Uncharted collection so I could replay Uncharted 1, 2 and 3, because I was just after playing Uncharted 4 I was just kind of really excited to play even more of this style of game. And so yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, another one you might like, especially if you like Nathan Drake, is the latest Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. That's a really good game on PS4.
Yeah, so I've got. Do you mean Definitive Edition, or do you mean Rise of the Tomb Raider, the new one, or either of them? Actually,
no. I was thinking of the. I guess, is it Lara Croft Tomb Raider Definitive? I don't remember the exact name.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the earlier one, not the most recent one, which I haven't really looked at.
Yeah, so I've played the earlier one that you're talking about. I played that on Xbox 360, but I've also got the Definitive Edition on Xbox One.
Okay.
I've started playing that, and I started playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the newer game. I'm kind of a couple of hours into that as well, so I'm kind of scattering myself all over the place. So I'm still finishing off Sunset Overdrive as well. So yeah, I'm just kind of jumping between all the controllers, all the consoles.
No, that's cool. Yeah, no, there's a lot of. I mean, Firewatch, obviously a good one to get on the PS4. Unraveled is kind of cool. Those are both good games.
There's a Rocket League as well as another one that I still want to have a go at.
Oh yeah, you should definitely do that. That was at least. Do you have I assume you have a PS4 subscription then, or the whatever they call it, Sony Digital?
I don't yet, but I will do. I plan on getting one.
It's good. I mean, they have a lot of good deals. Plus, they always have some free game out there, and Rocket League has been that free game for a while. That's how we got it, and it is a lot of fun.
Oh, is it the free game at the moment then?
I don't know if it is at the moment. We got it a long time ago, free.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll double check. If it is, then I'll jump on getting the subscription today. If it's not, then I'll grab a subscription at some point. They're not too bad. I don't think it's like £40 for a year.
Yeah, that's about what it is.
And you can generally get them a little bit cheaper on there's Amazon, or there's a few places that just sell you the codes online. You can generally get them in the UK for about £30 or £35. So I'll probably jump on that, and between the Xbox Live on the Xbox One and PS Plus, I mean, you get all the free games and stuff, so it's definitely worth the price.
Yeah, definitely. They make it worth the while, I think, overall.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that was it for video games. We just wanted to, be part of the conversation of Uncharted 4, because everyone else seems to be talking about it. So
yeah, I think I'm going to actually dig in myself today, because I just finished a big article for Mac Stories. I have one other thing I have to get out, because we've got our Club Mac Stories monthly newsletter coming out tomorrow, and I've only got a rough draft of that. I need to finish that up this morning so that Graham can start putting together the newsletter. But as soon as I'm done with that, I think I want to play Uncharted the rest of the day.
Nice, that's a good call. Well, maybe when we've both finished the game, we can play each other on the multiplayer.
Yeah,
definitely. Have a go at that as well. So
yep. Rocket League 2, you can do multiplayer. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, there we go. I shall deal with that once we finish recording.
All right.
So we got one more thing. We're not going to reveal who. You can wait for a couple of weeks, but you're not going to be on the next episode, John.
I know. I've been kicked off the show because I'm going to be at WWDC, and while I probably have time to record, I'm not confident that the Wi-Fi at my hotel is going to be sufficient to do a decent job recording. So we're going to bring in a special guest to fill in for me for that week.
We are. So yeah, I've allowed you the week off to enjoy your WWDC week. And yeah, we'll have a special guest. Me and special guest will be talking about various different things. Probably Lego, some games, WWDC maybe. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be bringing my portable microphone kit out to San Francisco, and I've got a bunch of interviews lined up with developers, so stay tuned for where you might be seeing those. You can probably guess it has something to do with Mac Stories.
Sure,
so.
Of course. But so you could maybe you could send us a little recording while you're at WWDC. Be a roving reporter.
I will. All right, I'll stick a microphone under Mike's nose or something.
Perfect. Well, enjoy WWDC.
Thank you.
And you will be back in 4 weeks, and I'll be back in 2.
All right, sounds great.
Speak to you later, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye.